Hey guys, I'm MeeMee and I do Allsorts, and it's time for another Scrawlrbox. And I know what you're thinking, MeeMee, why does it say November on the box? Well, if you didn't see my last video and if you haven't noticed, I haven't been uploading for like the past 6 months because of my mental illness issues, and so there was quite a bit of hiatus, but I'm trying to slowly get back into things, and I am actually behind on the scroll boxes as a result. So while I'm doing November's box and then another 3 after that, simple answer is, if this is my channel, I can do what I like. Also, as well, I'm testing a microphone attachment to my new camera, and I'm hoping that it's going to improve the quality. So anyway, if you don't know, Scrawlrbox is an ad subscription box here in the UK, not sponsored, not affiliated, and I'm down to see what's inside, so let's get on with it. Yeah, alright, let's see what we get inside. And so there's our supplies, and here's what else we get. So we've gotten the November 2021 scroller zine. I love the mandala design. I am just not a huge fan of these colours. I'm not really into muted tones and like nice and vibrant, so I will be reading that later. Right, and so this is our featured artist. This looks really nice. This has got more of a Zentangle feeling to it, but I love the fact that there's so much detail in it and you can actually still see what it's meant to look like. I really do like that. Okay, so that is our featured artist. Now I'm going to butcher the name because I like to pronounce things and make a total butt of myself. So this is Akansha Valero, I think. I am so sorry, but there's their information there if you would like to go see more of the work. Right, and last but not least, we have this sketchbook by Fabriano. It's got white pages and it's actually in quite thick paper, which I'm surprised at. And there is some information on the back, so well, as I can tell from the size, it is A5 and it's 120 GSM, which is really surprising. And ooh, so apparently we get 2 different types of paper in here. So we can get 12 sheets of non-removable paper and 12 sheets of removable paper. Oh yeah. Okay, so we've got the page open here, and this is actually smooth across the board. And over here, I don't know if you can see, there's like a tear strip down here. Now I've never actually come across a sketchbook like this before. You know, not like a dual one like this, and when you know you can rip pages out as well. You know, and it's like either one or the others, so that'll be quite interesting. So we've got our destruction list, we have our sticker. Still can't get this camera into focus properly. So first up we have a Faber-Castell Echo pigment fine liner in a 0.1, and that's what it looks like, so it's very thin. Now I don't like the cap in this because I was trying to put it on and I thought I was catching the nib on the inside, but it's because of this metal bit, so I don't like that. Then there was one design option that I could have done without. Right, and next up we have a 2B pencil. Right, and up next we have a white Posca pen, one of my favourite types of Poscas, and quite possibly the 5th one I have. So this one is the smallest one that you can get, a PC1MR, and as you can see the tip is very small, so what you do, give it a shake, give it a pump, and the paint will come out. Ooh, hello. So here we have a Derwent Slim eraser, which I have never seen before. So from first glance, this is going to be able to get into finer details, which is super awesome. And last but not least, we have these Brunseel markers, which are a combination of fine liners and brush pens, which is what I like to see, because when it comes to dual markers, I do like to have the option of a brush tip and a fine liner. And at the bottom here we've gone to the Tokyo edition and the Venice edition. So that's actually quite interesting. So I can't wait to see how these turn out. And our sweet for November, which should still be okay. Looks like it's a toffee and cream swirl. Now, honestly, I've never seen one of these before, so I'm guessing it's like some kind of an old-timey sweet, so I'm going to look forward to breaking my teeth on that later. So now it's time for my favourite part, which is doing swatches. Starting off with the pencil, because you always have to swatch your pencil. Not really, but it's something that I feel like I'm obligated to do, plus I want to try out this eraser. Ooh, that eraser is good. I do have a little bit of dust, but it's not coming away in tiny chunks. I can see you can get into tiny little details. Tell you what though, this paper does have a really nice texture to it. Okay, so on to these pens, and they are actually quite triangular and then quite thin as well. I'm not exactly too fond of the triangular holes in it. It's not really comfortable for me, and if I pick up a darker one you can see the details on it, so you've gone fine on one end, brush on the other, and then of course Brunswick Holland then. Alright, so let's give these a whirl. And so far these do not work on this paper, and I don't know if you can see them from that far away, but it is tearing up the paper pretty badly there. Like these are the Tokyo colours, they just look so dreary. You know, the barrels just don't look that inviting whatsoever, but the actual colours are quite surprising. You know, especially that shocking pink. Now, I have actually been to Tokyo, and honestly guys, and I'm pretty much do not associate these colours with Tokyo. Even though then this end does have some quite earthy tones to it, I'm actually vibing with them. Not so much as the fluorescent pink. The Venice ones are actually quite nice. I love the colour range that we've got. I definitely love that one colour one, like the baby blue, the rose, and in fact I actually quite like them all. Now, one thing that I have noticed with these pens are actually the caps. I don't know if you can see, but one is larger than the other, which I figured out pretty quickly when I was actually doing the swatches. Brush tip end has the bigger cap, and the finer tip has the smaller cap, which I thought was quite nice. Alright, and last but not least, the Posca. And the Posca works. Let's see what it's like on these ones. Yeah, Posca works as the Posca because it is paint in a pen. Alright, so that's all of our swatches done, and I have to admit I am pretty much excited to use them. But brush pens in this sketchbook, I really do not know, because like I said, it just started ripping up the paper, and once you start going over it twice, so this is like going to be a one pass thing. Well, I'm just having to look on the back of the package, and they are water based, so they are really bad for this paper, and since it's not like sketchbook paper usually does not hold water very well. So this is what we've got to work with, and you know what? I'm up for the challenge. So one thing I wanted to see now is what the back of it looks like. Ooh. And of course you can see, but this is what the back of the paper looks like. It has somewhat ghosted through, but it has not bled on to the other page, which is fantastic. So now everything's been tested and know what I'm working with. Now I just need to know what the challenge for this month is. And the challenge for November is creating calm. So I really don't know which direction I'm going to go in with this. So I am going to take a hot minute to think about it, and I will get right back to you. Okay, well, if you're thinking an absolute hot minute since I last did this, I am so sorry about the state of my hands. I have dermatitis, and it's usually brought on by like really cold weather. And for the past couple of weeks, it's been absolutely glorious. It's been what I call t-shirt weather, which is like 15 to 17 degrees. It was fabulous. And then all of a sudden we just got into a freezing cold spell to the point where we even got hailstones yesterday. And yesterday being the 31st of March. So that just shows where we are with this. So anyway, as you can see, in the meantime, I have actually sketched down what it is that I wanted to do. This is actually in the middle of the book, and did actually do my best to try and flatten in, but for extra precaution I put washi tape around it because I don't have like any bulldog clips to keep it flat. So the idea that I've got, and even though that I had 2 weeks to figure out what I wanted to do, I still couldn't make up my mind. You know, first it was going to be really complicated, and then I decided to go a bit more simple but complicated. And that is a landscape. Now, I hate landscapes, but the madness behind this is our dear old friend Bob Ross. Now, it wasn't until last year in 2021 when I was trying to find something to watch on TV and there was nothing, and until I came across The Joy of Painting. And honestly, I've been dying to watch that show for a very, very long time since and started hearing about Bob Ross from all of my favourite YouTube artists. But the one thing that I did not want to do was watching online. I preferred to be on my TV. You know, and the more I watched it, the more I started to feel at peace with myself. Now, I'm like a really stressy person, even like over the tiniest of all things, and get quite anxious. But it's just the like calming voice of Bob Ross, you know, which really calmed me down. You know, just watching him paint and listening to his stories, and honestly, I absolutely loved it. So that is what I'm going to try and replicate here. And the right page is going to be like my Bob Ross-esque landscape, and on the left is a really weird chibi-fied stylized version of myself, and I'm holding a paintbrush and I'm painting the landscape. And as I've said, and in other videos where I've done landscapes, I hate doing landscapes, but I thought that with the brush pens, you know, to get the different variations of brush strokes and, you know, different textures, that's what I'm going to do. So I have no idea how this is going to turn out. I have no plan going in. I'm just going to do it. So enjoying watching me struggle, because as Bob Ross says, there are no mistakes, just happy accidents. And so far we're off to a roaring start, as I'm not getting a flat colour here. And so as well, I know that these pens are water soluble, but tell you what though, this isn't turning out too bad. I actually quite like it. She says. Some happy little trees in. So you all know how much Bob Ross loves his happy little trees. I know that this looks still been haphazard at the moment, but I am trying to trust in the process. I do wish then to hand some watercolour paper instead of the sketchbook paper. I'm looking a bit more like a duck pond than anything else. Trying to do Bob Ross trees, and there's been some leaves in, and you know, just something as quick as this is really effective. I really do love how Bob Ross does his trees with the fan brush. And it's like the closest I'm going to get at the moment. But one day I really would love to do a Bob Ross painting. You know, maybe knowing the oils that he uses. Do have 3 water soluble ones from a brand called Cobra, and I do really like it. And I actually got them from Scrawlrbox as well, and honestly I would love to get more of them. And what the best thing about them is then they only take kind of about 3 to 5 days to dry, or in my case it will take a whole week. Does it look like anything yet? And the one thing that I don't know how to do is rocks. And pop rocks makes them look so easy, but again, I'm not using oil paints and I can't use a palette knife with this. Now I have no idea how not to do trees. I'm just trying to somewhat replicate, but trying to do in the same way how Bob does it. And at the moment these are pretty much the best trees I have ever done. There you go, just trying to go over a part there and just ripping it up on quite a lot of the paper. Instead of many times, this paper does not go with these pens. And in no means do I wear a bandana, but I have done quite a bit in the past. And I don't have a red, and in no means do I own a really ugly top like this. Okay, so now I see how much you missed there because I just pressed the button to start the next bit of recording, and I noticed that my memory card was full. Hooray! But you probably haven't missed that much anyway. Anyway, before I noticed that the memory card was full, I was going to head into the last stages and do some outlines on my little chibi ass self and do some highlights. So that is what I'm going to do, and then we can finally wrap this up. Now I have to admit that this is downright annoying because I prefer to actually ink first before I put colour down. But because these are water soluble pens and I forgot to check if this really was waterproof, it says it on the tin, but this is me, we're on about if I can burn water then I can do anything. And yes, that is an actual thing, I did burn water. Nothing wrong with the hob, but nothing wrong with the pan. I somehow just managed to burn water. Since well, I really do love my new microphone. It was an unnecessary expense, but unfortunately I couldn't figure out how to improve the original microphone situation. So I had to buy like a separate microphone for it, which which didn't really help with the overall cost, but at the moment it sounds pretty alright. Did a bit of editing this morning and it sounds good. Almost like the old setup where it was just nothing. You know, I didn't have an external microphone, it was just the camera and the audio was pretty good on that. Alright, and then we go to the finished art piece. Now when it's actually done, it doesn't look too bad, considering I had no idea what I was expecting and all of the challenges that I had. Like I keep mentioning, the brush pens did not do well on this paper because it's sketchbook paper, and because the pens are water soluble, they needed to be on watercolour paper. And the pens themselves worked really nicely, but I'm not really that into water-soluble brush pens. I don't know how to use them, so they're not for me. But I do love the fact that you do get a brush nib on one end and a fine liner on the other, so you've got that choice of whether you want to have like a line variation with the brush or just like fine lines with the fine end. But other than that, I think the colours from both sets actually work really, really well. So I'm going to wrap this up. So if you guys would like to have your own Scrawlrbox, I will leave a link in the description box below. And with that said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.